Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is FPV1 and today I'm covering the really sad news that now DJI drones are limited to 120 meters no matter what. Blanket ban, DJI bringing it in, geo-fenced, not even through the firmware. Let's get into it. I watched a video from Gavin HR who covered, it wasn't even an update, but the new geofencing in the UK with the DJI Mini 4, 5 Pro, and I believe the DJI Neos. I had to check it myself, so I've turned on my drone. Last night I checked it, and to my absolute dismay, it is now absolutely limited to the 120 meter mark, which is just really sad. I looked at the comments on Gavin HR's video and a lot of people defending it, like you're not meant to go over 120 meters, so why is it a big deal? The biggest thing for me is that slowly we are becoming, outside of drone usage in the UK, we're slowly becoming more and more totalitarian, dictatorship and Orwellian. I mean, without talking too much about China and their politics, to have a blanket ban at 120 meters and treat your population like your children is, for me, sad, and it's also being shown outside of the drone restrictions as well in the UK, which is just deeply worrying. That's my first point. I think that you should be allowed to do what you want to do as a grown adult. I have my A2 CFC, which is great. Go out and do it. The more you learn about these things, the better a pilot you can be, the safer pilots can be. Even someone who's got a GVC, they go out and they want to fly, and now they can't because they're just under the same bracket as a newbie buying one of these and flying. My first impressions, I did get the Mini 2 2 years ago, and for legal reasons I didn't go over the 120 meter rule straight away. I believe that people who do get a DJI drone that haven't flown before and don't know about regulations and flying above it, I get that that's why they bring it in, because you could so easily have it on 500 meters, fly it up, and you're endangering other people. But to treat everyone with the same sweeping brush it just irritates me. And the biggest thing as well for me from that point of view is that people who are going to break the rules are going to break the rules. You know, someone like myself who's got a license is now just being wrapped up in people that aren't even getting the basic things sorted out, like getting your flyer ID and getting a paid yearly subscription to getting your license, which is slowly going up in price. Now, a blanket ban, people that argue that's a great thing, they shouldn't be going over 120 meters. There are cases where you will be going over 120 meters. And if this is the case, if those people want to say,
oh, it makes sense to do that,
well, why don't we just ban all cars from going over 70 miles an hour? Why do we have cars that can go over 70 miles an hour? I saw on one of the online debates, probably on YouTube, that a guy from Australia had pointed out that the Australian government is bringing lots of new rules for drones when there hasn't been any cases in Australia of drones being used in like a bad sense where there's been a fatality. However, the guy pointed out that I think I'll probably put it on screen, but there's a high percentage already of people every year getting injured and dying from electric scooters and forms of transport that aren't regulated, especially in the UK. I live in a city in the UK and everyone has one. You're not allowed. You're not allowed as a private individual to have an electric scooter without insurance. So private firms can rent you a scooter in the UK, but you can't buy one because there's no insurance. But a company can get insurance so that you can then rent it. I don't want to go down the wormhole of you'll own nothing and be happy, but it does seem to be slowly deteriorating towards that way. Another thing that's been pointed out to me that I've read is about the fact that big companies want to privatise the airspace. They don't want us flying there. They want to be able to completely have reins over the airspace and let hobbyists like ourselves and professionals like ourselves have very limited abilities to use the airspace, it's very sad. It's a sad point that I think is very true. You know, if Amazon is doing deliveries, they don't want people flying drones around if they're doing drone deliveries, and that is the future. That's what's coming next. And so there'll just be more and more laws brought in because the private firms that are making millions of pounds have better reach than the private individuals just enjoying it as a hobby or using it as a professional tool. As I've mentioned, there are cases where you can go over 120 meters. If you get permission from the building or object owner that's over 120 meters, I believe you can go over 15 meters. If you're flying up a mountain or a hill and your eyesight is good enough for 120 meters, you can go up above 120 meters because you're staying in line with the landscape. Can't do that anymore with this one, so thank you very much, DJI. as I've mentioned, a blanket ban for, you know, everyone, hobbyists and people who are just noobs. It's just infuriating. And I thought when I saw the update, there's a little sign that says, if you want permission to go higher, click here. And then it goes nowhere. So well done, DJI. Well done for thinking that one through. I watched Mads Tech video on this. Go and check it out if you want a more in detail, in-depth analysis of this. He points out, and I thought it was a very good point, is if you need to use it for legal reasons, there are hacks that you can do to enable you to go above 120 meters. Now, I think that this could be actually a legitimate case for DJI to limit it within their software, and then those people who want to do it legally maybe, or want to do it illegally, are going to find a way around it, and then that's out of DJI's liabilities. So they can be like, well, we've got it locked, they unlocked it, it's nothing to do with us. And then in that way, the people that have unlocked it and are still using it legally aren't going to be causing any problems. But yet again, it's one of those things where those who don't care about the rules don't care about the rules. So the more the CAA bring in more and more rules, the people like myself who try and keep within those rules, they're just going to get, and they already are, getting so complex and so complicated that people are just going to start ignoring them anyway. And I feel like they're not working with hobbyists, they're almost working against them at this point. Yeah, finally, I just think it's just getting very Orwellian. I'm going to be making these videos a lot, I feel, because I just feel like they're going to get more and more strict, more and more tight, just like driving. 40, 50 years ago, you'd get a trailer put on your driving license. Now, you don't get a trailer put on your driving license. You've got to do another license. You've got to do another this. You've got to do another that. Moneymaker, and it restricts people from doing things more and more and more, except for those who aren't going to follow the rules anyway, or generally people who are very wealthy and can just afford to pay off and get stuff done. I'm really sad about the fact that they've implemented something that you just feel like a baby. You feel like your government is treating you like a baby. And that's or the company, DJI, is treating you like a baby. You can't decide what to do and what not to do. We are here to tell you what to do. And that's a scary premise. That's a scary premise for everything, not just drone flying. I think that that's coming in lots of different places. I've just remembered the other one. The other one that I like as an example is in the UK. We are now getting ULEZ zones and climate change zones. And these climate change zones and speed cameras are smart cameras. And a lot of people say, I've seen it on the sites back from where I come from, little rural town, they're like, if you're doing the speed limit, then you've got nothing to worry about. Except that I've also read an article about the fact that the police will be bringing in AI to scan every single registration plate, allegedly. This is a concept, obviously not something that's happened just yet. Bring it in, they can put it into their big AI machines that are getting built. And if you aren't going to work one day and you decide to go and see someone that you haven't seen for ages, that will get flagged. And then the police will get a little thing on the system, and they might come and pull you over and ask you what you're doing, because it could be nefarious. And that's the terrifying thing that comes along with these little stupid rules, comes along with smart cameras and the future, the dystopian future that we're all stepping into. I try not to go too much into these things because YouTube's really good at restricting these things. Obviously, it's not good for advertisers. Slowly, FPV wine is becoming skate wine and getting political. I try and stay out of the politics, try and stick to the fun, but it just feels like the fun is it's like skateboarding. This hobby is so like skateboarding. They're just going to criminalize it more and more, and then the people who are just going to do it, just going to do it anyway, and then you just end up with these little pockets, and that's how I see it. It will just end up being these little pockets of FPV parks that will just appear, and that's the only place that you're allowed to fly, and then everywhere else is for Amazon or for big companies to use to do their deliveries or whatever else they're doing, and these big film production companies to film wherever they want to do. But little old you has to go to the park, has to go to the FPV park, has to go to the race centre. Everywhere else is banned. Yeah, like and subscribe, and thank you ever so much to everyone who has been supporting. I managed to get those AJ1 gimbals on the T8L. If you've not seen it, I've done a video on the T8L. I'll try and link it. Did get these gimbals with the AdSense money, so that was great. So thank you ever so much for getting involved, enjoying the channel. Peace out. Let's get 2026 before 2027 comes and 2028 comes and we have more regulations. The end.